All right, so we are thrilled to have you all here. Thank you so much. We are going to go ahead and get started with our presentation. So today you can plan to hear from 5 speakers across campus. If this is your first employer town hall, this is a really good chance to learn about what makes all of our offices different, aside from the fact that we obviously all serve different student populations. And for everyone in attendance today, please plan to take away how our menu of services are structured this year. We'll be chatting about what we are all doing individually and what we're offering this year. So for some housekeeping, because you'll be hearing from so many of us today, the presentation is going to be full of hyperlinks, email addresses, and QR codes. Please note that we will record this presentation and send it out afterwards and send out the slides. So there's no pressure to get everything scanned and clicked on. If you'd personally like to rewatch the recording or send it to someone not in attendance today, we will be posting it on our website. We will have a QR code later to show you where that will be. And if you have questions throughout the presentation today, please submit them through the Zoom Q&A feature. That is where we will be reviewing and answering Q&A questions, either live or through chat. So please feel free to use that in Q&A. All right, so we will kick off today with some brief instructions. After that, I'll share a brief overview of the current trends that we're monitoring on campus before segueing into updates from my office, the Career and Internship Center, and then flowing into updates from my fellow colleagues who are on the call today in their centers. Then we'll wrap up, point your attention to any action items that you may want to be aware of, and spending some time on Q&A. It's going to be a jam-packed hour, but we all feel so fortunate to be able to speak to so many of you in one place. It's rare that we get to do this, so thank you so much for joining us. We're happy to be here with you. Okay, for introductions, let's meet who we'll be hearing from today. So we'll go in the order displayed on the screen. So please be ready to give us a wave and introduce yourselves. My name is Lindsay Smith. I use she, her pronouns, and I am the Associate Director for Employer and Community Connections at the Career and Internship Center. My team facilitates connection between students, recruiters, and opportunities via career fairs, events, mentorship programs, internship program support, and employer education webinars. And I'll pass it over to Carson to introduce himself.
Thanks, Lindsay. Carson Locke, pronouns are he, him. Work at the Foster School of Business in the Career Services team. My official title is Employer and Alumni Development Manager. So I connect with the employers to discuss how to come to campus and interact with students in a number of ways. We also put on events to have students practice skills and build some of their transferable skills, and then figure out ways for them to build their networks with alumni and employers like yourself. So happy to chat with anybody that's interested in meeting with Foster students specifically. Next, Michael.
Good morning, everyone. Michael Moore. I work at the Career Center Engineering. I'm the assistant director here, and I help run our internship program. I'm also starting to work on the employer engagement piece. So if you have questions, I'll post our employer engagement email and chat here in a little bit. I'm happy to connect with you about the engagement and recruitment opportunities with our College of Engineering students across 10 different departments. And I'll throw it to Kay.
Thanks, Michael. Hi, my name is Quebec Benton. I'm the Director of External Relations here at the Paul G. Allen School of Computer Science and Engineering. So I serve the populations, the technical kind of computer science, computer engineering, data science, AI, like that kind of audience. I do employer relations, and I also help with setting up opportunities to help our students grow and be prepared for their jobs. So I kind of mirror a little bit of what Carson suggested that he did in the Foster School. I just do it for the Allen School. If you're interested in learning more about that, please feel free to reach out. And I will hand it over to Meg.
Hi, everyone. My name is Meg Gallagher. I use she, her pronouns. I'm the employer engagement manager for the information school. So I do a lot of similar things of what everybody else has mentioned, but largely, interfacing between our students and the employers that they're interested in working with, putting on events and workshops for them on behalf of employers and organizations. And yeah, just working with them to achieve their career goals. So nice to meet everyone.
All right, thank you. Presenters, this is your formal cue to turn your cameras off at this time, but we're not going anywhere. Each presenter will turn the camera back on for their portion of the presentation. All right, let's get started. So the first piece of our talk today is meant to apply to all industries in career recruiting. Here is what we've all collectively been paying attention to here on campus and what we think you should really know as we head into fall quarter. All right, so fall is right around the corner. UW operates on a quarter system, so we'll begin classes quite late in the month. This year, the first day of autumn quarter officially falls on Wednesday, September 25th. And it's an important day to remember because recruiting activities like career fairs happen pretty soon thereafter. And as for hybrid recruiting opportunities, in-person career fairs are as popular as pre-pandemic times, but UW still offers a number of opportunities to recruit via virtual fairs. Virtual fairs not only benefit employers who aren't able to travel for an event, but also provide a recruiting opportunity for students who feel more comfortable with the virtual environment. And for job market concerns, when it comes to the state of the job market, there is mixed messaging going around. Due to layoffs, hiring freezes, and rescinded offers, there's a heightened level of concern and fear for employability upon graduation. So how can we change this messaging and with your help? More to come on this in an upcoming slide. And shifts in employer hiring timelines. Employer hiring timelines seem to be shifting unpredictably in ways we haven't seen in the past. Some companies and industries that have traditionally hired in the fall are holding off until winter or spring, causing some confusion for our students. They may be afraid to miss out on future openings if they accept a position in the fall. And then recruiting international students. I really want to focus on this. It's a really important piece, especially at UW. UW has a robust international student population, and we will reference a resource created by InterStride, which is a platform to support international students in their career journey. And that is linked to this slide, which you'll receive after. And this is the briefest of overviews, and we highly recommend you review this guide, consult with your HR team about what your organization can offer. First, to clarify the difference between CPT, OPT, and visa sponsorship for international students on an F1 visa. So CPT, which stands for Curricular Practical Training, is a temporary authorization for practical training directly related to the student's course of study. Most often, this takes the form of an internship. And what is the employer's role here? Applying for CPT is the responsibility of the student and requires no action by the employer, except issuing a letter to confirm the internship offer. There is no cost to the employer. Next up is OPT. OPT is optional practical training, and it is a permission to work or train in the US in a field related to the student's degree for 12 months after they've graduated. Like CPT, applying for OPT is the responsibility of the student and requires no action by the employer. There is no sponsorship nor cost required for general OPT. There is a more specific STEM OPT authorization with additional requirements, but it allows for a 3-year work period. And as for visa sponsorship, this only applies if an employer and alum want to pursue an H-1B visa for longer term employment. The company submits an application to the USCIS on behalf of the international employee, and it is a more complicated process. If your company does accept CPT and OPT work, but cannot offer visa sponsorship, it is important to make this messaging very clear to the student so they can understand their career options long term. And as a quick summary, many employers may be able to accept students for CPT or OPT work, but may not know it. We highly encourage you to check with your HR department if you're not sure. And Handshake has made some recent updates to better assist employers as they're filling out job forms. They have separated out the CPT and OPT sections on the job application form so that you can more specifically show what you can offer students. Generative AI in the job search process. So students are using AI to improve their application materials. And career centers are guiding students in their use of the technology, encouraging its use as a starting point, but not to generate a final product. Students also use AI tools to deconstruct job descriptions, develop branding statements, and identify other roles. and some driving factors for UW students in their career search. So as we've seen in recent years, students continue to seek an employer with invested and ongoing commitment to diversity, equity, and inclusion. Students approach their job search with a critical eye to identify performative versus intentional action. And later this year, we're hosting an employer education webinar on this very topic. Students are also prioritizing an alignment of values and goals when applying to positions and what's important to them, and placing emphasis on syncing that up with their careers. Students want to feel like they're making an impact right off the bat. A strategy to meet this need is to show them that their projects are impactful rather than just entry-level work. And we want to make sure we keep them engaged so they consider staying with you for the long haul. And as for retention, students want a reason to invest in your organization. Why should they apply for a role there, and why should they stay? And of course, a livable wage. Students are looking for financial security as they graduate and move into their first role. We are going to next continue our discussion on job market concerns, and I will pass it over to my colleagues.
Thanks, Lindsay. A topic that has recurred across each of our centers and from the students and some employers as well, and even nationally from some of our other partners on the higher ed side. Specifically ghosting, reneging, and rescinding. Again, I want to preface this as it's a snapshot of something that has come up multiple times from both sides. There is some onus on students, employers, and some things that we can do better as well as career development professionals. And so just in general, we've heard from students that a lot of times they're still, or many times they're still getting ghosted by recruiters in the process. Even if they've had multiple interviews and during this timeline that's provided, sometimes they don't get updates at all and hear back. And so I know that has come up before in a similar setting last year. There was also the question of, students do ghost, or the issue that students do ghost employers as well. And from our perspective in the career services teams, is how can we better prepare students for when this happens? And also, how can we work with you all to have them be the best candidates that they can be, but also understanding that this does happen. It's not everybody that does this. It's a very small minority, I think, but it does happen over and over again. So just trying to figure out what the best ways are. So when we have our conversation with you, it'd be really helpful to understand how transparent you can be with students, how transparent students need to be with you, because I think there is some disconnect that we see, and it does create a higher level of anxiety and stress for the students. So just not having not even no update in their timeline. If you needed extra time to figure it out from the employer side and the recruiting side, completely understandable. But at the same time, when students aren't communicating with you, it's an issue. So we try to prepare them as best as we can, and really, really appreciate hearing when those situations come up, and so we can try to help coach the students and other students through that as well. So we have included some quotes here that are specifically from either our employer partners or from our students. And so I'm not going to read them all, but they're there for you to see. The second point here about reneging, if a student does renege on their signed offer, definitely something that we want to know about. And, some of you all are really great at communicating that to us. And we do set up meetings with these students, and so that they can have this moment of growth for their future. And then also so we can try to help understand where they are at and try to figure out how we can best support them in these situations. Um, but understanding again, there's that transparency piece. I think when we're having this discussion, if we can encourage students just to be as transparent with you, and maybe it'll be a mutual thing, but at the same time, we understand that a lot of times recruiting partners aren't able to be quite as transparent as the students would hope. So there's that balance, but we do try to make sure that the student is notifying of their current processes that they have in place, just so that you can have a better understanding. And I think some of this does go along with the one moving timelines up earlier, and so students feel a lot of pressure to maybe accept an offer, the first one that they get, because they don't know if they're going to get another one, and not really understanding how to best field those concerns. And from what I've heard, is they want to evaluate all of their offers that they might be getting or all their processes just to see make the best decision for them. And sometimes they need extra time. I know that's not necessarily a thing that you're able to provide to students a lot of the times if you have tight deadlines for when they need to start, when you need to get your offers in by, and it's super competitive. So I understand you want to secure them too, but if we can just have these conversations about how we can better support our students to prepare for recruiting processes, timelines, and then be as transparent with you all, I think it would go a long way to reduce this part of the reneging that we've seen come up. But also let us know. We want to make sure that we are helping the students understand that there is an amount of professionalism and etiquette to this job process. So they should be, pretty firm on staying with their offer, but also understanding that there sometimes situations change and priorities change, especially if they're signing offers like a year plus in advance of them graduating, and having these 18 to 22-year-olds for the most part trying to stay committed. I know it's tough, and things change in their life. So trying to be understanding of that piece. The next one here about rescinding offers, I think one that came to mind specifically to me when a student mentioned that they'd continued to interview because many of their friends had start dates pushed, offers rescinded for certain firms, so they couldn't risk that. And so just again, these concerns that come up, I think with these timelines that are moving up, I'm not sure if you all have seen that. So again, in this conversation would be great to understand a bit of the feedback that you're seeing, some of the how that goes into your strategy when you're giving offers that are going to be way far out in advance, how the market conditions are constantly changing. So I think that's what we've seen an increased number of rescinded offers this last year, especially at Foster. But hopefully we can find ways that we can better prepare students when that does happen. Just again, that transparency piece, if they are going to continue interviewing and they've heard from their friends that from the year before that they haven't even started, so they can't afford to wait 6 months to a year to start, and not even knowing until closer to their time. So those are just some of the things that came up. I'm not sure if any other colleagues have something to add, but again, not widespread, but does happen quite often in each center, most schools around the country. Understanding market conditions are changing, trying to better prepare our students to be good candidates, but also to be prepared when these situations do happen. And want to be good partners for you all to be able to make sure that our students are putting their best foot forward when they're interacting with you and working for your companies.
Thank you so much, Carson. Anyone else on the line want to jump into that? All right, I think it was a really great way to wrap all that up. Okay, so we are going to move on from general information to updates from specific career centers that are represented on campus. And I will discuss the Career and Internship Center. So the QR code is for our general website if you want to visit. The Career and Internship Center is a UW Seattle office, and you can think of us as a centralized career center here on campus, meaning we support outreach and events for all majors, school years. But with a hitch, many schools and departments on campus often have their own career centers with their own set of resources that cater specifically to that student population, like my colleagues on the line here. So while we're centralized and our career fairs and other types of services are open to anyone to attend, there are specific major populations that are better served elsewhere who wouldn't choose us over their specific school. So you can think of us sort of like a funnel. If you connect with, we can connect with a group of students who'd like to be in front of. We can make those connections for you and help find who may be the best person to talk to at UW for recruiting. And let's take a look at the events our office is hosting this autumn. That QR code there will lead you to our employer-focused webpage on our website. So we have one in-person and one virtual fair this coming fall in October. The in-person fair has just a couple of booths left, and there's going to be a wait list too. So I recommend going on there and registering if you're interested. The virtual fair is accepting registrations through the end of September. And we have a new program that we started last year called Career Connections. And it's an event that is part tabling and part mini career fair. So we host 4 to 6 organizations from a similar industry to table in our lobby for a few hours. And for this quarter, the industry theme will be arts, media, and marketing. And this is for local employers who are in the general Seattle area. And you are always welcome to host a virtual event or information session and promote via Handshake. We're happy to help you with that. And also, if you're interested in conducting interviews on campus with us using our interview rooms, we love to have employers on campus and would be glad to host you. And that QR code will take you to our website with that information about how to do so. And then for our full academic year, here are all of our events lined up that our Career Center is hosting. We have 2 career fairs per quarter, 1 virtual, 1 in person, and then career connections events in winter and spring. And that QR code is for our event calendar. So you can see the full list and it will direct you to Handshake as these winter and spring and summer events are available on Handshake. We also have a host of employer education webinars, this being the first one of the year. And these webinars cover a variety of topics. Registration is open for all the events, so check out the calendar, and that QR code takes you to our employer education webinar page with links to all of our topics coming up. So we have a host of new topics, some returning topics, some topics that are slightly tweaked, and we also have recordings of all of our last year webinars on our website too. And other ways to engage. Please head to our center's website and click through all the different ways you can work with us to serve students of all disciplines and backgrounds. And that QR code again takes you to our employer webpage. So with that, I'm going to turn my camera off and ask Michael Moore to turn his on. And Michael, take it away.
Thanks, Lindsay. So I represent a 3-person team here in the Career Center Engineering. So we support all engineering disciplines. So that's 10 different departments, over 8,000 students. So there's myself, our director, Gail Cornelius, and our student programs manager, Curtis Takahashi. We partner directly with departments to deliver career services and also with employers as well. And we're a relatively diverse college. So we've been really excited over the past few years to see the engagement of female identifying students increase and also for BIPOC students. That's a major focus for the college as well. And we've heard from employers that that has been a major focus for them as well. So if that's an area you want to engage in, there are specific staff members within the College of Engineering that focus on diversity, equity, and inclusion. So definitely reach out to us and we can help connect you with those staff. And the success rate as far as students in the job market continues to be relatively high from the College of Engineering, even despite the challenges of the past few years with the pandemic and with the shift to different modalities of work. So about 2/3 of our students have job offers in hand before graduation. So we do the senior survey 1 month before graduation to see what students' career plans are. And you can see the average salary there. This is accepting Allen's students and computer engineering students over the other 9 departments. And the hiring cycle for this autumn looks like it'll be relatively robust. We will be having the Engineering Hiring Expo, which will be information on the next slide. And we also anticipate significant engagement in terms of on-campus recruiting sessions, information sessions. Getting information sooner rather than later is going to help because many of the venues in which we'll be suggesting that we host those events, such as the Husky Union Building, will continue to be busy, as we've seen from Lindsay and as you'll see from the Foster School. October will continue to be a big push for career fairs. So our fair goes the day after Lindsay's, for example. So let us know sooner rather than later, and we'll do our best to respond and make sure that the engagement you're looking for is able to happen in some way on campus. I'll also mention that we typically see a relatively large push for engineering recruitment in the end of January, start of February cycle. So if your own timeline is such that doesn't align with the intensity of the October hiring season, do reach out to us now. We can help get you on the calendar for January or February as well. We also typically do the employer-facing workshops at that time, as well as we have an annual boot camp that we do with students in terms of career prep that we often partner with employers in terms of engagement. So lots of opportunities to get in front of students or to partner with us in the winter if the autumn doesn't end up aligning with your own pipelines as well. Can we do the next slide, please, Lindsay? Perfect. I'll pass it over to Kay Bentonbeck for the Apology Allen School updates, and I'll post the information for the Engineering Hiring Expo in chat as well.
Thank you, Michael. Hi, everyone. I am here to talk about specifically the technical sort of computer science, computer engineering, data science, that type of area. We have some upcoming events. I'll talk a little bit about our our plans for the fall and for this year. And I will point out, I do work closely with Gail and Michael and the team over in the College of Engineering, but we do host our own events. So here's a little bit about the Allen School. So the Allen School is ranked among the top computer science programs in the nation. We are our peers. We are one of the top 5 programs, and our students are heavily recruited. They are starting to think, though, beyond necessarily just tech. So that's something to keep in mind. A little bit about our populations. We have more than 2,300 students enrolled in the undergraduate degree programs at CS and CE. Of those programs, about 33% are female identifying and 26% are first generation college students. This has been a strong focus with the Allen School to bring in more diversity and really focus on that within our student populations. We have been making some progress in that area. We have a couple of master's level programs here in the Allen School that one of them is a BS-MS program, one of them is a professional master's program. We have about 350 students enrolled between those 2 programs here in the Allen School. And at our PhD level, we have around 360 students ish. That number changes a little bit, enrolled in our PhD program. So if you're interested in recruiting PhDs from computer science and engineering, please do reach out. About 31% of that population is female identifying. And for this incoming year, we have 72 grad students joining us just in a few short weeks. So they will come and kind of get their foot in the door and get ready for the start of their PhD PhD program. Boy, sorry, all of a sudden I changed it and that was just enough for me. So we have several events and opportunities scheduled for this upcoming academic year. For the fall, we do host 2 career fairs. One of them is our in-person fair. We actually are hosting our fair on October 3rd. Which is Thursday. That one will be in person. It will be the hub. I believe we probably are the first ones out of the gate this year. We'd love to have you come and join us and recruit our students. The first 2.5 hours are exclusive to Allen School students, so sort of UW CSE when you think about that. And then we open to students in related majors. So we will have students that are taking a number of our classes, but are actually in different majors. So think applied math and computer science, physics, stats, HCDE, just all of those related majors do come and pass through our doors usually. For context, last fall, we had about 1,700 students walk through our fall career fair, and about 60% of those were at least Allen School. And then when we opened it up, the remaining were filled in with the other majors. Space is available and we'd love to have you join us. We also are hosting a virtual fair. So we are one of the career centers that do offer virtual fairs as well. That fair will be hosted on Tuesday, October 15th, and it will be on Handshake. There is space available, so please feel free to join us. We have some fairs already scheduled for the winter quarter. Our in-person fair will be February 4th. Our virtual fair will probably follow a week or 2 after that. February seems so far off at the moment, so I only have the dates figured out. We will get information about those out shortly. And what industries are we looking for in terms of our students? Well, of course, our students think tech, but there's also a number of opportunities for tech in like non-traditional technical companies. So we definitely, our students are considering government, nonprofit, there's cybersecurity, AI, fintech. I have listed here. The list is not exhaustive, but there are opportunities to hire our students, and they are definitely looking beyond just your traditional tech companies. So if that is a concern that you may have, please feel that they will be interested to talk to you and excited. Let's see, ways to engage. So we have lots of ways to engage with our students. Sorry, all of a sudden, I just lost my train of thought there. A lot of ways to engage with our students. So these could be tech talks, they could be in-person workshops, career exploration panels, resume reviews, mock interviews. If you have a thank you. If you have a way that you'd like to engage with us, perhaps participating in a hackathon or on-campus interviews, or even working with our RSOs, we have 6 affiliated and about 15 also 6 specific to the Allen School and about 15 affiliated RSOs. please feel free to reach out. We will amplify job postings on our internal Allen School Board. So even if you're posting your opportunities on Handshake, we do amplify them internally so our students make sure we see them. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out. You could either reach out to affiliates at CS, or my email is there in the last of the slide here. And with that, I will turn it over to Meg from the Information School.
Thank you very much, Kay. Hi again, my name is Meg over here at the Information School. So just wanted to share a little bit about who we are. So you can read this yourself, but I'll read this first part aloud. So the UW Information School creates interdisciplinary information leaders who take the charge of researching information challenges and designing solutions that improve people's lives. So we're not the only information school. I argue that we are one of the more established and a very great one. But basically the idea of an information school, interested between the relationship between information technology and people. And typically graduates of information schools use their expertise for the advancement of science, business, education, and culture. So this next slide here just as a little bit of an overview about our program. So within the information school, we have 5 individual programs. Informatics, which is our undergraduate program and is growing every single year. We have our Master of Science in Information Management program, or MSIM program. In this program, there are residential and online modalities, all having 3 tracks, and those tracks consist of early career, which, as the title would suggest, folks who are heading into the industry with minimal experience. Early career accelerated, which is the same as early career, except that these degrees are finished in a year versus 2 years. And mid-career, so looking at folks who are coming in looking for a job change, or just to add some more things to their list of skills. We also have a very high international student population in our residential modalities. And so that kind of leads back to our conversation earlier in this presentation about CPT and OPT. We are always happy to help clarify these things. So but we do have a student population who highly depends on things like CPT and OPT to continue either internships in process here or looking for work. We also have our Master of Library and Information Science, or MLIS program. We have our Master of Arts in Museology and PhD in Information Science with our totals listed here. So we have a really interesting spread of students in the information school, which is one of my favorite things about working in this department. So wanted to talk about some ways to engage here. We have our iSchool Career Fair coming up in winter 2025, so that'll be February 6th at the Hub Ballroom. We also are having, the first half of that is specific to iSchool students, and then it's open to all UW students. And again, the thing that is interesting and fun about the information school is that as far as industries that we're looking for, we are looking for a little bit of everything. So as you can see here, government, nonprofit, museums, libraries, tech and non-tech, non-tech in tech, which is a fun one too, healthcare, cybersecurity, IT. And all of that is just a small portion of what we offer. And I will go ahead to our next slide here. So opportunities for engagement. This is the part where we want to hear from you. We want to hear about what you would like to do to connect with our students. So we do have a request form that is linked here and it will be sent out in these in the slides. When you receive them, you can go ahead and click this link that will take you to a request form to talk about how would you like to, engage with our student population? And if you wanted to pitch something to our students, whether it's your organization or an open role that you have, we'd love to have you come in for an info session or something like that. Some things that we've done in the past as examples, if to spark inspiration. We've done things like workshops around like recruitment red flags, like what to look out for students. Mixers where we bring in employers to meet with our students directly. Had some of those last spring, and it was really great to see students who were then hired by these organizations, and they were really excited about this, to get a chance to like chat with people in a casual way, versus like sometimes in an informational session or workshop where it's highly specific. And I know students can sometimes feel pressure to be performing their best So it's nice to have an environment where folks can just come and mingle, especially now that we're heading out of like a post-peak pandemic era where folks are meeting in person again. So other things that we put on are like UX UX portfolio planning. That's been really helpful to a lot of our students. Another thing that we'd like to connect with you about are things such as your internship schedule. As we also talked about earlier in the presentation about, how to keep students informed about timelines is really important. So, feel free to reach out to us to chat about what your schedule looks like, so that we can kind of plan ahead for our students to, put on specific workshops about preparedness for them, how to apply, when to apply, because we are a quarter-based institution. I know that sometimes our students can feel a little overwhelmed by the fact that we do start a little bit later in the year. So we like to just remind them that it's okay and that there are ways to prepare, and that they're still, our students are still completely and totally qualified for getting the jobs and the internships that they want. We just have to remind them that it's okay that we start a little bit later than most other schools. Because all 5 of our programs cover a lot of ground on the employer front, we are open to literally nearly any industry that would like to join us for the career fair, and for, workshops in general. Slide here. And yeah, if you'd like to contact us, you can reach out to icareers@uw.edu, or you could reach out to me personally at my work email, which is listed below. And I will pass it on to the next person.
Thanks, Meg. So come back to the Foster School of Business here. I'm going to run through some of our student populations that we support. So for those of you that don't know, our Foster Career Services team supports all about 2,200 undergrads across 9 majors and a couple minors, as well as 6 one-year master's programs. 3 of those are STEM designated for information systems, business analytics, and supply chain. There's 2 accounting programs, as well as an entrepreneurship master's as well. So we support all of those students overall in our programming. We're not a placement center. However, we can help get in touch with students in a variety of ways. Happy to go through that a bit as well, and happy to chat with any of you that would like to just have a conversation and see how we can support your efforts here, connecting with some of the foster students. So first, our specialized master's programs are 1-year programs, so they are June to June. So here's a snapshot of what the classes look like for this incoming year. I apologize, I didn't have 100% of the numbers, so I didn't want to present some that were 100% and some that were not, with the accounting students just starting up here in the incoming quarter. So you can see that the specialized master's programs are still pretty highly ranked amongst them, and still pretty diverse programs for the most part in terms of the information systems. That was probably one of our bigger programs that's been really popular and growing. So second here, I'll talk a little bit about the undergrads as well. For the incoming class, since we are so close to the year, we didn't want to present total numbers just because there is a lot of flux that happens with the incoming students, starting a lot of them in their junior year. So they'll be declaring and probably making some changes upcoming, but happy to talk about that a little bit in October when our official numbers will come out in an infographic that I can share with anybody that's interested. So for the incoming class, we have about 650 coming in each year. And about half of them will be direct to major or freshman direct. And then another half of them will be our standard admits that are coming in as transfers, other current UW students after their second year. Typically, they'll come in, there's a couple admission periods as well. One thing I do want to highlight is some of the work that our team has been doing over the past couple of years. And so the number of coaching appointments has increased here quite frequently. And about 74% of overall foster students will have engaged with foster career services in year over year. And so that's something that, if you're looking to get in touch with students, we're definitely a great conduit to that. There's a variety of clubs as well that you can get in touch with, and I can give that information. We have about 30 affiliated foster clubs. So some great things that they're doing on that front. And then the breakdown of the overall major distribution, at least as a preliminary indication. So one thing to note is that accounting majors are up for a second year. So I think that's something that's encouraging. Also, a bit of the market trends is accounting is seen as a little bit more stable career path, but also a little bit more applicable to a variety of different things. So accounting going up, and I think a lot of the people on here will be excited to hear that. Next, I'm going to talk a little bit about some of the ways to connect with students at Foster. As I mentioned before, some of the skill building workshops have been really popular with students. So just finding ways that they can, have these things not just being talked at for an hour, but really applying those things that are going to help them in their job search in the future and in their careers. So if you wanted to host something that was specific, that maybe that you've noticed that's missing in the interview processes or some of the internships that you think would be really helpful, that would help students upskill themselves. Happy to work on hosting one of those. We also do put on a number of informal networking events where students can just meet with professionals from the industry, alumni, etc., and kind of just hear from different perspectives. I think that's super important for students to understand. And as they're going along these journeys, things are going to change, and having some information just from other people is really great. Some of those skill building opportunities include mock interviews and resume reviews. Just hearing from people in your companies and in your networks to help them explore their careers. We did one last year that was, or earlier this year that was non-traditional career paths. So just had people that have kind of maybe switched industries or switched roles or just had some kind of career pivot. It was pretty well attended on the first 75-degree day of the year. So I think it's great to hear that students are engaged in those ways. On that note, we did have start this summer for the first time. We did 4 short skill building workshops, and we had about 40 students apply there or attend. They were virtual during the summer in July and August. They were very nice weather days. So again, students are interested in these things. So happy to try to collaborate if that's something that you want to get in touch with students with throughout the summer as well. And then a couple other things to call out. We do host career treks, and so we look usually in spring, sometimes in winter as well, in the summer for the master students. But we'll be looking to visit local companies and just hear from people there and learn a little about your company and just give those students a firsthand look of what it looks like in an office or a facility. I think a lot of that has been missed over the last couple of years. So just getting them any exposure to show them, even if you're not recruiting at that time, it is purely experiential. So we don't market it as a recruiting opportunity. If there's something you're interested in, definitely let me know, and we can try to see if we can bring a group of students to visit your team. And then also there are a number of case studies and projects throughout Foster that different teams put on. So happy to talk through that if it's something that you feel like your company would benefit from and want to give back to students an opportunity to get a little bit of a look for like a consulting type of a role in your business. We can also promote jobs and any events via social media and through email. And we have a student newsletter that goes out weekly during the year. So a great way to get some additional promotion that way. And then a couple of trends that we've noticed over the last year is that, there is no really big recruiting season, I feel like. Fall is definitely heavy for a lot of the industries, but we've seen quite a bit of interest from students in any quarter, and employers that do come and do a different recruiting for, whether it's an industry fair or a big fair, year round. People are always recruiting and students are always engaged. So don't feel like it has to be fall quarter anymore. And even summer has been a little bit more active, like I mentioned. But something to highlight too is that we can host lunchtime events in certain spaces. We don't have tabling at Foster. So those have been really popular just to get student walk-ups. And they can register ahead of time, but getting walk-ups and just being able to interact with students in a variety of ways. Something that we've noticed also, same trend as last year, info sessions where they're getting talked at for an hour, not quite the most conducive to the students to be able to stay engaged and really feel like they're learning a lot. However, I know it's important to get some information out there. Happy to chat a bit more about that as well. And then the drop-ins also haven't been quite as popular with students. Having a little bit more scheduled one-on-one or just an open networking space versus a drop-in one-on-one. And then one thing I wanted to highlight too is that Foster specifically has an undergraduate diversity services team. So it's a pipeline program that we run. There's a team of 4 that runs this. Tara Moore is the associate director for the program. So they have things that run all the way from high school into the community, students that are at UW currently, prospective students. They run some great programs throughout the year. If anybody is interested in engaging with them, happy to make a connection there. But they do some really impactful things in trying to increase the inclusion and diversity at Foster specifically, but overall in the community, and just give students some skills and some exposure to different pieces of the industry and to explore different things. So happy to chat about any of these if you're all interested in learning more. I have my QR code up here to schedule a meeting if you'd like, but really appreciate all your time and look forward to seeing you here on campus.
All right, thank you all. So now this concludes the updates from all of our centers, and let's wrap up. Here's what you can do right now. If you were introduced in the course of today's presentation to a career fair or opportunity to connect with one of our centers that has excited you, head over to Handshake. And while you're there, please consider posting any open roles or making sure anything that's currently active is updated. We also really encourage our employers to update the hiring status, whether they've either hired a student, one of our students, or have not moved forward. That's helpful to the students and it's helpful for us. And if you do happen to register for any upcoming career fair, excuse me, please take time after this presentation to review the next 2 slides, which detail best practices for in-person and virtual fairs. We won't talk through these today because they're not relevant to everybody, but they will be included in the slides that will go out once we say goodbye. And they're a great resource for you if you're new to the world of career fair recruiting or would like a refresher on our top tips. So these are these 2 slides you can review at a later date. Okay, with that, we're going to open up the floor to Q&A. While we're doing that, the QR code links to our Instagram pages for our different centers are on there. Feel free to give us a follow. And please feel free to put Q&A, any of your questions into Q&A, and we will address those. Carson, it looks like you have a few if you want to take a look at those and answer them, maybe live.
Yeah, I see from Connie, yes. Again, accounting has gone up for a second year over year for new students. So, we're seeing an increase there. I think it is, again, a little bit of market conditions, but also just students are getting more aware of the opportunities there and how transferable the skills are, from my understanding. So accounting has definitely gone up. No shortage of jobs for accounting students, which has been nice. I'm happy to talk to you a little bit more here. Looks like there's a question about the case studies. Yeah, there are various teams that do host these types of case studies and case competitions. We also some certain clubs will take part in that. So it depends on which team you're working with in terms of sponsorships, but we can talk through like maybe what will work best. And happy to chat more. There's some nuances between the differences if it's like a course project versus a club looking to do a case or an official sponsor case competition. So there are a few of each.
Thank you. I'll take a look at that last one. Someone has asked, what are the dates or timelines for spring internships? If you're hiring, if you're looking to hire an intern for spring quarter, you'll want to get that posted in Handshake soon. I will say January and February is a very strong internship posting time, and students are using that time to really look for internships, but students also are looking now. So as soon as you know when you're hiring, put those on Handshake for any time. Keep in mind for summer internships that as a quarter school, we finish classes mid-June. And so our students aren't always able to start internships until late June. Let's see here. Okay, so Jocelyn has asked, you're a staff recruiter for a youth sports organization, would love to connect with students interested in education or sports management. That depends on if you're looking for specific business majors. In like management, you might want to talk to Foster. Otherwise, you can talk to us, the General Career and Internship Center, as we tend to support students in general interests that are outside of business engineering and information sciences. So feel free to reach out to us. Someone asked, do internships require full-time work? So students can't really take classes during busy season internships. It can vary. Some internships are part-time, some internships are full-time. It depends on the employer and what the employer is looking to hire. Students have very busy course loads. Since it's a quarter system, they have squeezed a lot into each quarter. So it really depends on the employer and what they're looking for. Usually full-time internships take place in the summer. The next question, does someone else want to take that? Tech companies.
Yes. I'm happy to jump in on this one and try and answer this question. I have some anecdotal information at the moment. I think that as we've kind of discussed throughout this webinar, that the timelines have really changed. It's really what used to be doesn't necessarily happen now. What I have noticed this particular year in all the conversations that I'm having, that tech companies right now are getting finalized on what their positions will look like, and most of them are looking to do something kind of potentially later in the fall. So they're actually talking to me about November timelines, or after the start of after the start of our year. So kind of in what would be our winter quarter. So sort of January through March. And that is what I started to notice this past year when we were in our winter quarters of 2024. And it's definitely what I'm hearing now. I don't know if anyone else has sort of anecdotal that wants to jump in on this, but I think that we're not, if you're thinking you might be behind at this point, you are not behind. Trust me. If you actually have opportunities that you're looking to hire right now, you're potentially ahead of the game, to be honest. So.
All right, other questions? I know there were a few in the chat. We're only referencing Q&A for questions, so please feel free to pop your questions in there. Kay, you have another one.
Sorry about that. I was busy looking at the chat, and now my camera's trying to decide if it wants to turn on or not. I think that industry affiliates, this is an excellent question about biotech. We actually have a number of our students, I think I failed to mention this in my little section. We have a number of our students who actually do dual majors. So we have a lot of students who are majoring in sort of that biotech space. And I would encourage, it's an area that we are looking to move more into in terms of recruiting. And I would encourage you to consider coming to our fair, or feel free to reach out to me. My direct email is in the presentation. It's kbeck@cs.washington.edu. I'd be happy to sort of chat through that with you and talk about what opportunities are there and how best we might partner through that. Because I think that we have some great opportunities, and we can discuss this probably a little more understanding exactly what you're looking for.
Thanks, Kay. I'll take the next few. So for hiring for online tutors, students are interested in that sort of opportunity. Post any opportunities in Handshake. That's where students go to look for opportunities. So feel free to do that. And in a job posting, you can select either what majors you're looking for, or all majors, or be specific there. So yes, feel free to use Handshake. And then Julia asks, do we allow info sessions? Yes, in the presentation there's some information about how to request information sessions. So you're welcome to do that for different career centers. And then Jen asks, do you work with students who may be finding they would like to transition out of college without a degree and are looking for opportunities? We work with students who are just interested in figuring out what they want to do with their future. So I would recommend coming to a career fair, because if you come to a career fair, you catch students who are just figuring out what's next. So I think that's the best way to partnership, is just to attend some of our events. And then engineering, I'm going to let Michael take that next one.
Sure thing here. Thanks, Lindsay. So timeline for civil has moved slightly. So in past years, the civil and environmental engineering career fairs were in January, February. They're now going in October this year as well. I would suspect that the hiring will still be quite busy in both seasons, in the fall season and the winter season. I definitely recommend you connect with both our unit and with civil and environmental engineering directly. So Brian Crockett and their team over there. Feel free to email me at the Ian Jarrett OCR email, and I can make the introduction there. But I would expect, especially on the construction management side, that'll favor more towards autumn, whereas the more general civil roles and environmental engineering roles will also favor a little bit more in the new year, kind of in that late January, early February season.
All right, thank you. I'll look at the next one. So someone asks, what is the best way for a small or micro business near UW to attract students who might be interested in running their own business or supply chain management? You're not specific to one major. That's great. The more majors you're open to, the better. Handshake is the best place to post those. And you can also connect to some of our registered student organizations, RSOs, if you want to connect with students with specific interests or focuses. So that is a way to connect with students without going through one of our career fairs if you're, or excuse me, career centers if you're not interested, or you can connect with any of us about the best way to do that. Let's see here. I'll take the next one. Is there a process for those of us who would like to bring on students who need field experience for graduation? What would be the best way to establish that sort of relationship with the university? Receiving a list, you remember before you graduated, receiving a list of companies and organizations who could help support my need for fieldwork credits. That would be something to go through different departments. You can reach out to us and let us know if it's biology or whatever you're looking to hire. Students will work with their own departments on field work, but we can assist as they're figuring out how to find you and their next career choice. All right, feel free to pop other questions for minutes. I will jump to the next slide, which is all of our contact information. And a few of us have our LinkedIn pages on there. We're happy to connect with you there. So again, still have time to pop some questions in, but we want to thank you for joining us. I know we all are very busy, especially this time of year. So be on the lookout for a recap email with slides and take special care to fill out the feedback survey that we're sending. The more we hear from you, the better we can serve you and connect you with our students. And it will influence our offerings, for the upcoming year as we can do so. So yeah, please feel free to connect with us, and we're happy to support you as we move into this year. And we appreciate all that you do in hiring our students. All right. Any other questions? You're more than welcome to do that. Otherwise, we can end here. We'll be here for another second if you want to add any questions, but otherwise, feel free to log off if you would like to do so.